Hello listeners, if you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. My wife So Yoon and I knew the house was haunted when we moved in. The previous owner was upfront about it. It was part of the reason the place was so cheap. Well, officially, it was because his dog and daughter had died here. Just give them what they want and you'll be okay, he asked the realtor to tell us. She handed us the keys and smiled, shaking her head. Don't worry about all that, though. His psychosis is your gain. This place was a steal. It's not like the ghosts can just come out and tell you what they want, but they definitely have their ways of communicating. Like the first night we got here, I left the moving box full of plates on the top of one of the dining room chairs. We woke up in the middle of the night to hear it crashing down, the plates all shattering into millions of pieces and scattering all over the floor. And that's how we learned the first rule. Lesson 1. Always leave the chairs empty for the ghosts. Other rules would follow, and we learned not to leave anything on the floor of the pantry after the ghost wrote a nasty message and Cheerios all over the floor. We learned to not run the dryers at night after 2 fires. We weren't sure if the first one was from the ghosts or just a lint buildup. So Yoon and I tried these little acts of revenge in stride, cleaning up Cheerio curse words with a smile and joking to each other about our pricky house guest. For a while it seemed like there was just fine. We listed out the rules on a small whiteboard affixed to the refrigerator so that we could continue to cohabitate. Lesson 5. No bananas in the house. Lesson 6. The car should always be parked in the driveway, never the garage. Lesson 7. No house plants, maybe just no ferns, worth investigating more. Lesson 8. Downstairs shades must be drawn down at night, at all times, no exceptions. It's become a bit of a game between us, each trying to remember all the rules better than the other. But then one night So Yu went down to get a glass of water from downstairs after midnight. I tried to stop her, but she just told me she was thirsty and that they could live with it. She went downstairs and I heard a scream. I ran downstairs to find her grabbing her foot in agony. She said she tried to get some ice and then heard a loud snap. She looked down to see her big toe bent away from her foot at an impossible anger. Okay, I said. I guess that means no ice after midnight. I took out the whiteboard marker. What do you think we should write for that one? I can't live here anymore. We have to go. We'll never be able to afford another place like this. Especially now, with interest are up. It's just ice, right? She shook her head, and I drove her to the ER in silence. The next morning, So Yoon started packing her things. I tried to beg her to stay, but she wasn't having it. Why did we leave our previous apartment? She asked me, looking at me with a cold anger in her eyes. Why did we leave? Because it was small, I lied. There had been a group of teens who lingered outside in the front of our building, the type who sat on cars and rolled packs of cigarettes into their sleeves of their t-shirts. Every day when So Yoon entered the building, they hurled insults at her, mocking her weight, sometimes her race, asking to see her naked. I called the police several times and reported them, but it never went anywhere. In time, we decided to move to the suburbs. She tried to blame me for it, saying I wouldn't stand up for her. I tried to fight back and say it was illegal, but before long she was out with her suitcase in hand. The next morning I woke up and went to the store. I bought bananas and a houseplant. I bought a shirt in a dark red color I knew the ghosts would hate. Finally, I texted So Yoon and told her I'd be a man that she could be proud of. Last of all, I took a single glass of water and placed it on the chair. Then I stood there as minutes passed, almost hours. I stared into the emptiness of the dining room. happened is all of a sudden, the glass flew from across the room and shattered on the wall. I stood in place, trying not to blink, as one of the shards rose from the floor, moving slowly towards me. The shard pierced my ankle, drawing a fine line straight up my leg, working its way under my undergarments and up my thigh. I tried not to flinch as a pool of blood and a small puddle around my feet. The glass rose to my eye, and in that moment I realized the ghost died to make this their home. Was I willing to do the same? I blinked. I'm sorry. And then I grabbed a broom and started to clean the mess. Since then, I've been doing my best to keep playing by the rules. I've added 3 more to the list. Lesson 15. Don't make any noise when descending the stairs. Lesson 16. No hats inside. And Lesson 17. Do not enter the closet beneath the stairs. Ever. The final lesson has been the hardest to swallow. At night I must leave So-Yoon's side of the bed empty, not even stretching a leg into it. As I close my eyes, I feel something cold and damp settling onto her side. It won't let me look at it. My heart beats fast and my blood runs cold, but no matter how much I want to scream and sprint out of this house, I always remind myself that if I just play by the rules, everything will be okay. Thank you for listening to another story from the Sanguinis Compendium. If you enjoyed, give that like and subscribe button a click, and ring that bell to hear more stories daily.